Good morning, students. In my previous class, I have discussed Birches by Robert Frost. I went on a line by line explanation, right? Now in this class, I will discuss the poem's main themes and some of its prime points. Birches was one of the best known poems by Robert Frost. Frost's writing of this poem was inspired by a poem of similar kind, that is Swinging on a Birch Tree by Lucy Larcom, an American poet. He was also thoroughly inspired by his childhood days of riding birch trees. The poem was composed in between 1913 to 1914 and was first appeared in Atlantic Monthly in the August issue of 1915, and later it was published in Frost's third volume of poems, Mountain Interval, in the year 1916. It describes the reminiscence of an adult about his boyhood days, how he envies his childhood capability of making new beginning with a new tree. The act of swinging on a birch tree is a way of escaping the reality and giving vent to one's fantasy. However, the full experience grows out of the balancing of two opposite forces, ideal and real. Now let us discuss some of its prime points. Number 1, when the poet sees the birch trees that are bent over, he thinks it is because of some boys being swinging over them. Number 2, he then rejects his pleasant thought as whimsical and inaccurate one. Rather, he presents something dismal and more realistic. He says the winter storm coats the birch tree and the heavy load of ice causes them to bend down. Number 3, he then reverts his original theory and develops a myth of a boy who bends all the birch trees down of his father's land. Number 4, the poet says that once he was a swinger of birches and he dreams to relive that strata once again to escape the pain and trouble of the real world. Number 5, the speaker ends the poem on a note of hopeful reconciliation. He realizes he does not want to leave the earth permanently. He does not want to avail a permanent flight to the imaginary world. Rather, he wants a temporary respite only. One of the main themes of the poem is imagination versus reality. The use of poetic imagination to surpass the limits of the material world is one of the main characteristics that pervades the whole poem. The speaker in the poem rejects the real cause for the birches to have been bent over. Instead, he presents a fanciful explanation of his own. The poem begins with the image of the birches bent left and right. After seeing those birches, the poet is thinking it is caused due to some boys have been swinging on them. Then again he refutes his idea by thinking, no, it is not possible. Like if a boy swings on the birch tree, the bending of the birch tree cannot cause permanent damage to the birch trees, right? So he discards. Then he thinks it must be the ice storms. At night, the ice storms, encrusted and coated the birch trees and its branches. In the morning, with the help of those heavy loaded ice, actually are causing damage to the birch tree. And with the help of sunlight, they they just fall into pieces and just they are waiting to be swept away by someone. Again the poet thinks, no, it cannot be possible. It is definitely done by a boy who lives far off the din and bustle. Now you can see here, he is interrupted by the limit of real world. Okay, but he has his own poetic imagination. That is why he is making the boy live in a village place, and that is far off the city life. So he thinks the boy who has no friends, who does not know how to play baseball, he was playing with the birch tree and he causes the birch trees to have been bent down like this. Now he has also said the boy takes out the stiffness of the birch tree, and you can see here, by taking out its stiffness, he is causing the bending of the birch trees. By this, the poet's imagination is getting triumphant over the limitations of real world. Now, the poet again says, once he was a swinger of birches, and how much he misses those days. He wants to relive that dream. The speaker wishes to escape into imaginary world, but this is not a permanent escape. He just wants to be there in order to get rejuvenated so that he can come back and he will be able to deal with all the problems and troubles of realistic life. He acknowledges the fact that earth is the right place for love. So after getting rejuvenated, he wishes to come back and enjoy his earthly life as well. Now you have seen there is a conflicting image of real world and the poet's imaginary world that pervades the whole poem. Next theme is the need for limits. The poem Birches deals with the need for limits imposed upon us as a consequence of being in the world or existing as a person. These limitations are very much necessary to show a person his place in the world, and the borders of the world define a person. Now he wants the removal of all the borders. That is why he wants to climb up the tree so that he can go toward heaven. And immediately he wants to come back. He wants to live in the earth because he acknowledges that earth is the right place for love, and that can be enjoyed with the help of all these limitations. And these limitations are providing all the stuff to make his poetry possible. The third theme is nature. Nature is a very important subject in the poems of Robert Frost. He seems to have a close affinity with nature, and the poem is meditative. The first part of the poem consists of a vivid description of nature. The poet gives many appearances of birch trees in summer and in winter. He here tells us about a boy who lives in a village, who is enjoying his rural life, who is far off this din and bustle, and he knows nothing but the game to play with the birch trees. He also says that he himself was a swinger of birches during his childhood days. Now you have seen how much the poet is longing to get back his childhood days. That is why he says he wants to relive his dream. When he says he wants to climb up the tree to be nearer to heaven, this image is not used in the sense of dying. Rather, he says Like he wants to enjoy the innocence and beauty of nature so that he can get rejuvenated, and then he again wants to come back to the everyday grind of life on earth. So these are three major themes of the poem. Now after going through all the themes well, you go to the worksheet section. I have given an assignment there. Please do download that. I want you to solve the question on your own. This much for today's class. We'll discuss something new in my next class. Hope this class was beneficial to you. If you have any problem regarding the understanding of the poem, please feel free to write in the comment section. Till then, do study well, take care of yourself, and have a good day ahead. Thank you for being so much patient.